Hey, what is up guys? It's Galaxy Tech Dark Lord here, coming at you guys with a deck profile of what I entered in yesterday's locals. It's a Cyber Dragon deck, so I kind of wanted to test something new out at the tournament, at my tournament, so I just thought, Infernities, I've been running them for quite a while, and since the new build isn't up to snuff in my mind from at the moment, I thought I'd test out something new. So this deck kind of started off how it was in the last deck profile, and then as I progressed through the tournament, I kind of saw what people were running and what I should side in, what I should, I took stuff in the side deck which I thought I should side in, and then what I thought I could then put in the main deck as well because, because it needed to be there all the time. So I ended up with this, and hope you guys like it. I'm going to get straight into it. So, of course, if you want, you need to have 3 copies of Cyber Dragon. It's like having a cheese sandwich without cheese. You need to have this card. The deck revolves around it. It's your basic special summon beat stick with level 5 on it. So then we have 3 copies of Cyber Dragon Core. It is not like Stratos. It does not add monsters to your hand that are Cyber Dragon oriented. It adds Cyber Spell or Traps. So it's just a spell and trap searcher. Generally for Cyber Network, which you use to set up your plays and stuff. So, and it also, when it's in the graveyard, and when your opponent controls monsters and you don't, you can banish it to special summon a Cyber Dragon monster from your deck. So this is a really great card, and it also works very well in tandem with Machine Duplication. Because it's treated as a Cyber Dragon and you use Machine Duplication on it, you get 2 copies of Cyber Dragon from your deck. So, well, if you have to at least. So that's why that's a great card to use. And then 3 copies of Cyber Dragon Drei. It's not Drei, it's Drei, which is German for 3. It's a great card. When it's normal summoned, you can make all Cyber Dragons level 5, and in return you can only special summon machine type monsters. So that is the explanation for a lot of the rank 5s that I don't run in my extra deck, as you'll see later. So it's good in that respect, and since it acts as a Cyber Dragon, it's good in that respect as well. And when it's banished, which is what you're mainly going to be using it for, when it's used, you banish it with Cyber Network, and then when it's banished, you can target a Cyber Dragon you control, and until the end phase, it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. So that is a really good card to use. And then 3 copies of Cyber Valley, because Cyber Valley is just your basic store and draw power card. It's just so great, and it works with Machine Duplication as well. So if you summon one, then you use Machine Duplication to get the other 2 out of the deck, you can at least banish 2 of them to draw 2 cards, and then have the last one on the field for ending the battle phase on your opponent's turn. So that's good for it. And then 1 copy of Cyber Eltanin, because this is basically food for Cyber Network, and it also clears the field of all monsters, not by destroying, but by sending them to the graveyard. So anything which escapes destruction, this just overrides it, because it's not destroying, it's just sending. So that's a good card to use. And then Fusion in a card, we run 2 copies of the Light Hex Seal Fusion, because it's just too good not to run it. You special summon a Cyber Dragon from your hand from the get-go, and then normal summon this, and then go straight into Cyber Twin. It's quite an overwhelming card, and it saves using like polymerization and stuff. So that's why that's a good card to use. And then finally for the monsters, we have Honest, because everything in this deck is, as you can see, is light attribute. So everything in the main deck at least. So using this is really, really trolley, I think. So that concludes the monsters. There are about 16 of them in this deck. So the spell cards, the very obvious Cyber Repair Plant. This is also searchable via Cyber Dragon Core late game. When you have Cyber Dragon in your graveyard, you can activate 1 of the 2 effects, and when you have 3 Cyber Dragons in your graveyard, you can activate both effects in sequence, which is shuffle a Cyber Dragon into your deck, a light machine type monster into your deck, or add one from your deck to your hand. And so that's all you need to know. Generally it's generally the second effect that we use, which is just add one from our deck to the hand. So that's good. And then three copies of Power Bond, because it's amazingly good. Although you take damage at the end phase, it's it's easily avoidable via things like One Day of Peace and Barrel Behind the Door. It's doubles the attack. Cyber Twin Dragon, that will go to 5600, and Cyber End, that will go to 8000 Piercer. So it's a great card to use. And then 2 copies of Machine Duplication. As I've already said, it works wonders with Cyber Dragon Core and Cyber Valley, so that's why that's in there. And then 2 copies of Kaiser Colosseum, because you're not, from the get-go, if all you have is this and Cyber Valley, you can play this. Your opponent can't play any more cards, and so the only attack target they're really going to have is Cyber Valley, and it's a good store. And also, even if it's also going to be a card that your opponent is going to target with an MST, even if you don't need it. So it wastes one of their MST, which is a good card, and then you have another one to play off. So that's good. It's just controlling. It just helps you maintain field advantage most of the time. So and then we have 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon, because it's just back row destroyer. I don't need to explain that. And then 1 copy of Limiter Removal, because you're playing a deck full of machines with high attack points, so why not go for that final stretch. For the traps, we play 1 copy of Cyber Network, because it's not a good late game. It's only good for a setup card early game, which is why we generally use it. Which is why we search it out with core primarily, because we generally draw. If the deck is consistent enough, you're gonna draw something like Cyber Dragon Core first turn almost every game. So that's why. And then finally, because I finally managed to get my hands on 2 copies of DNA Surgery. For now, works wonders on type sensitive matchups like Bujin, things like that. It allows you to spam for Chimera Tech with all your opponent's monsters as well, because you get rid of, if it's like Lead Yoke, because I'm still a bit paranoid about cards like that. It will just be sent to the graveyard instead of being destroyed, so you can bypass its effect. And since Dracosac is already a machine type monster, you don't have to worry about that. So then 2 copies of Dimensional Prison, so I just don't want my opponent to get their cards back. Then 2 copies of Call of the Haunted, because you might need stuff back from your graveyard later. 2 copies of Mirror Force, because it's Mirror Force and you need to make sure that your opponent doesn't get through. 1 copy of Trap Stun. I've cut 2 from the deck. Unfortunately, I've had to do that for the Kaiser Colosseum, but I found that Trap Stun wasn't actually a great help during my matchups. And then finally 1 copy of Solemn Warning, because it just negates your opponent's summons, and if it's an Xyz monster, they're not really going to get it back. So that consists the main deck. For the extra deck, I'm still adamant about running 3 copies of Cyber Dragon Nova, because it's just a great card, and if you play your cards right, there's loops where you can go into 3 Cyber Dragon Novas, and then if you've got DNA Surgery out, you can just spam for a huge Chimera Tech, and then so that's great. And then if your opponent makes the mistake of destroying this with their card effects, you can get either Cyber Twin or, more preferably, Cyber End Dragon out from your extra deck, which is really great. It can be any machine type fusion monster, but those are preferably what you run, because they're the biggest beat sticks in the deck. Then we run 1 Constellar Pleiades, because it just bounces cards. 1 Tiras Keeper of Genesis, because it's rank 5 and it's quite a good card to use. 1 Maestroke, because you have a couple of level 4s and it inconveniences your opponent a lot. And then 1 Papy Operative, because it's Papy Operative. Your opponent might try and hide in defense sometime in the game, and then you can just use this to flip it over, and then it loses 600 attack. For fusion cards now, we have 3 copies of Cyber Twin Dragon, because it is the Cyber Twin Dragon. It is the easiest fusion monster besides Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon to summon, and it allows you to sweep with 2 attacks per turn. And if you summon this with something like Power Bond, for example. That's 5600 twice per turn. So, and generally that's enough to knock people out late game. And early game, if your opponent hasn't got much out, then it's still really easy to knock them out with it. Then we run 2 copies of Cyber Eltanin because it is a 4000 beta. Actually, to be honest, there's only one time that it could ever be a 4000 beta, and that's if you've summoned it via Cyber Dragon Nova. Otherwise, it will be an 8000 beta because you summoned it with Power Bond. And it's a piercer, so your opponent can't really hide in defense. They're just going to lose all their points. So that's why that's in there, and it is also quite intimidating. So there we go. 2 copies of Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon because it is just such a spammy card. If you have DNA Surgery on the field, the possibilities are endless with this card. You can just take away all your opponent's monsters, besides tokens, of course, and then just get into something with 4,000 or more attack, possibly, depending on how much your opponent swarms. Then 1 Chimera Tech Over Dragon just for that security. If your opponent has a large horde of monsters and you want to annihilate all of them for game. So that is the main deck. Side deck wise, I just thought naturally with this, because they're all lights, you want something that negates dark. So 2 copies of Consecrated Light for there. It has actually worked wonders actually against dark matchups that I went against. So that's why that's in there. Then we have a copy of Book of Moon and 2 copies of DDR because you're going to be banishing a couple of things. And then Light of Redemption because again you're going to be banishing stuff. So I've never sided these 3 in, but they're good to have in there. 1 Day of Peace because this you can swing a whole load at, even if you've used Power Bond, you can swing your opponent's stuff. You can attack all your opponent's monsters. Then during your main phase 2, you can activate this, negate your Power Bond damage, draw a card, and then during your opponent's turn, even if they annihilate your field, you won't take any damage. So that's a great card to use with that. Then 2 copies of Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, because just in case Consecrated Light is not enough. One of my friends ran Consecrated Light against Dark World matchup. It did not work at all because he just annihilated it because Consecrated Light does not work beyond the field. Shadow Imprisoning Mirror can. So this really does work against it. Then the 2 copies of Trap Stun that I had to took out of the deck. Then 1 Non-Aggression Area. I love running this card because it just takes away your opponent's turn by discarding 1 card. And then Goes and Merch because all the monsters in the main deck are light attribute, so you're only running 1 attribute. Your opponent might not be running 1 attribute, so it's a good card to use. Then finally a Barrel Behind the Door because if you have this face down and then you go for a Cyber End with Power Bond, at the end of the turn, if you haven't destroyed them, you can activate this and put all the Power Bond damage to them. I have tried this out many times and it has worked. According to the judges that I've asked, it has also worked, and online ruling. So that concludes the deck profile. I went X3 at that tournament out of 5 rounds. It wasn't great, to be honest. I had a lot of fun and I got some valuable advice for what's good in the deck. I went against Noble Knights, which I won game 1, almost had him game 2, almost had him game 3. He just had the trap field advantage there when I played. I won against the Cyber Dragon deck by basically Zane Truesdaling him with just a Power Bond and a couple of Cyber Dragons in my hand, or Cyber Dragon related cards. There were I almost won Mermails, won game 1, lost game 2 and 3. And I also put up quite a good fight against Bugins because I had Kaiser Colosseum out before he did, which meant that he couldn't really do much more than just get out 1 Bugin card. And then when I got DNA Surgery out, that was it. So anyway, thank you for watching this deck profile. I hope you like it. Don't forget to rate, comment and subscribe. Peace out.